Vampire Weekend. Joining us now is Congresswoman Karen Bass, Democrat from California. Congresswoman, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Could I just thank you from the bottom of my heart for waking up at this ungodly hour in the great state of California for us? It's great to have you here.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I don't know if you caught the first segment. We were talking about the president's We Can't Wait initiatives and the degree to which he is doing an end run around Congress. As a member of that august institution, what is your feeling about him doing an end run around Congress?
Well, I did hear the earlier segment, and I just have to say, you know, I am a new member of Congress. I've only been there 11 months, but I am happy about it. I think that the president has absolutely no choice. But the only thing, though, is that this really has just been 11 months, because the 111th Congress, if you remember, of course, worked well. I mean, we had the House, we had the Senate, and the president and the 111th Congress accomplished a tremendous amount. So it's really just been since John Boehner and the Republicans took over this year that things have been so difficult.
As a new member of Congress, I'm curious, you know, Congress reliably ranks as the least trusted institution in American life.
Yes.
It's remarkable. It's one of the most robust polling results we have. Even worse than bankers, remarkably. And as a new member of this institution, what is your sense of why that is? As someone who has not yet been completely acculturated to the place, what strikes you about Congress?
I did come from the California state legislature, and so it wasn't as though
sterling
we were
reputation,
so well,
as we all know.
Exactly. But you know, I do think it's a reflection of the conditions that people are facing. People are facing foreclosures, they're facing unemployment, and I think if you look historically at that, the ratings of Congress or state legislatures definitely go down when the economy is down, and people are suffering and people are hurting right now. And so, of course, they look to the leadership to say solve the problems, and that's clearly not what is happening right now.
Do you feel like your colleagues across the aisle are subject to the political gravity of this? We've talked about, we've been talking a little about how people vote out incumbents when the economy is bad, and that's a pretty applicable rule. But it seems the Republican incumbents don't necessarily feel like that is going to be the case for them, because they don't seem particularly motivated to do much to lift the economy back up.
Well, you know, especially the new freshmen, a number of them came in. There were 87 freshmen, 9 Democrats. Many of the Republican freshmen came in on the Tea Party wave. And I have to say, for some of them, I think that they really didn't know what to expect. Many of them had not served in public office before, and they came in with one agenda, and that was essentially to repeal health care reform and to make sure that Obama only had one term in his presidency. And I think when you're locked into 2 positions like that and a very conservative ideology, then you come in and you really wind up being stuck. And I do think that that's the situation that a lot of them are finding themselves in, especially because of the jobs bill.
Congresswoman, this is Glenn Greenwald. I wanted to ask you about one of the things that you just said that I found interesting, which is the idea that Obama has faced, you know, clear obstructionism on the part of the Republican Congress, which is certainly true. And yet for that first 2 years of his presidency, his party controlled both houses of Congress with fairly sizable majorities, and yet you said, you know, much positive things were done, and that may be true, but I think a lot of Americans saw the banking industry, Wall Street, corporate America thriving during those 2 years, and yet there being mass joblessness, huge amounts of foreclosures. Do you think that message that, well, we did a lot of great things for you for the first 2 years when we controlled both houses of Congress will resonate politically, and is it really substantively true, given how much economic suffering there was, and yet the elites thrived during that period?
I think it absolutely is substantively true, and I will just tell you, because during that time I was in the state legislature, I was serving as Speaker of the House, the economy in California was in an absolute free fall. If we didn't have the stimulus package, the economy in California would have been much, much worse. And so it is a very difficult narrative, because the economy might have stabilized somewhat, but people are still suffering. But I think historically, when you look back, whether it's health care reform, 7 presidents tried to do that. Finance reform, maybe it wasn't enough. We would have all liked to have seen more. The auto industry exists now. If we had been going where we were going last year, we don't know whether the auto industry would even be in existence. And so I think much was done in the 111th Congress, but because the unemployment rate was so high, because the economy has not turned around for so many people, I think it is a difficult narrative to explain. for people to understand.
Karen.
Good morning, Congresswoman. This is Karen Hunter.
Good morning.
Good morning. Do you think any part of this jobs bill is going to be passed? You know, the president came out with this rounding speech, you know, passed this bill, and then we had to chop it up, and now it's kind of dead in the water, or is something going to happen?
Well, see, and that's the dilemma that I think the Republicans face, because, you know, there's parts of the jobs bill that were Republican ideas, right? And so now that the president has put them forward, all of a sudden the Republicans don't want to do them anymore. And that's why I think that the House Republicans in particular are in a dilemma. But, you know, I think that's where we can all participate. To me, you know, it's not just about Congress or the president. It's about what's going on in New York, in Los Angeles, in Oakland. You know, the movement to fight for jobs. It's really going to take mass pressure to get this Congress to act. So I do think that there's pieces of the jobs bill that will pass. Now, what concerns me is that there's some parts of the jobs bill that really will impact a lot of communities that I don't think the Republicans are interested in. I mean, you know, the fact of hiring teachers, the extending unemployment, the rehab of houses, summer jobs, the parts of the jobs bill that in particular impact low-income communities, I'm concerned that those won't get addressed, and I think it's important that we push for it.
Congresswoman Karen Bass, a Democrat from California, who is up early with us this morning, and we are very grateful. Thanks so much. We'll have you back, Congresswoman.
Thanks for having me on.
We'll be right back after this.